Hi everyone, welcome to Saturday Noon Live with Tara. Today we're actually going to have a guest on our live, and we're going to have a very special doctor guest on our live today. So I'm just going to wait for more people to join in. Hi everyone, hi, thank you for joining yoga. Again, I say yoga with Tara because, as you know, I do yoga with Tara 2 times a week with all of you, and Saturday Noon Live on Saturdays, and I always end up getting a bit confused with which is which. So, as you know, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on Instagram. And hi, Rishabh, lovely to see you here. Hi, everyone on all our platforms. Today we have a special guest. Of course, we all know that right now, sorry, that was a call. Rishabh, Sarita, hello on YouTube. Vineet, great to see you all here. And great to see you on Facebook as well. Thank you so much for joining. Antonio says, Buongiorno, principessa, come stai? Molto bene, grazie mille. Parliamo in italiano, sì, io parlo italiano, pochino, and io parlo una lingua mista, italiano e spagnolo. Uh, I lived in Italy for 2 years, so I do speak a little bit of Italian. Okay, guys, so this is just, as I said, just checking that I'm live on all the platforms, which we are. Thank you for joining on Facebook as well. And as you know, when we have a guest on Instagram, then the YouTube and the Facebook can only hear the Instagram guest, but later we will edit it and put it up onto YouTube as well. Hi, Paki Raju. We have a special guest today. Yes, we do. And guys, before I forget, a very happy pre-Mother's Day for tomorrow to all the mums out there. And also, we have a very special live tomorrow as well at 12 o'clock at noon. We'll be going live with Dr. Mahesh Balsekar. That's tomorrow. And today we're going live with a very special doctor who's also the founder and writer of this book, The Human Edge. Dr. Marcus is going to join us in just a minute. On YouTube, on Instagram, Mr. Ushu says, how are you? We are fine, Touchwood. I hope you are too. Azad says, hello, Tara. Tanash says, I've missed you. I'm joining after a long time. So great to see you all here. Hi, Rishikesh. So on that note, I'm going to let Dr. Marcus in. He's going to talk to us about COVID. He is a champion of well-being, the author and founder of The Human Edge. He's a volunteer medic in the fight against COVID, and he has some wonderful, wonderful tips for everyone, and he'll answer your questions as well. So please, guys, send in any questions. Rishabh says, ma'am, because of you, I have reduced 8 kilos of weight. Wow, Rishabh, I hope that's what you wanted to do. I hope it wasn't done not out of choice. So as long as you're healthy, I think being good health, us all being healthy forever, touchwood, is the most important thing. The size, the shape, that's less important, but that's good to hear. Okay, guys, so on that note, I'm going to let Dr. Marcus in, and then we'll speak to him, ask any questions you may have, and here goes. Hi. Hi, Doc.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi.
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
I'm fine. I think I can hear you now.
Great.
I can now. Yes. Okay.
Great. So this is Dr. Marcus. Marcus, I'm going to ask you a funny question, and this is very embarrassing, but I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. How do you pronounce your last name?
My surname is Ranney. My wife and I were just talking about that because I pronounce it differently than she does. So she was asking me, how do you actually pronounce your surname? It's Ranney.
Ranney. Okay, so this is, yeah. So I didn't want to say the wrong thing because my husband and I also had a similar conversation where we went from Rani to Rani to Rane, and of course your wife and you obviously would know best. So thank you for letting me know, Rane. So we've got Dr. Marcus Ranney here, and for those of you on YouTube and Facebook. I'm just going to show you him that he's actually there. Sorry, Doc, this is a strange thing I do because as most of us, these are at-home one-man teams. So my setup is very amateur, but I am live on all platforms, although I'm only speaking on YouTube, and then it will be edited and put on Instagram, on Facebook. Sorry, I'm on Instagram. It will go on YouTube as well. So everyone who's here, Dr. Marcus, as I just said, is a champion of well-being. He's the author and founder of this wonderful book, The Human Edge, which I have actually read, and I'm very impressed. I have, I'm going to ask you a little bit about that as well. But essentially, Dr. Marcus is here to talk to us about COVID, because of course, that's, I think, top of everyone's mind. And the reality is that there's so much information. And while that's a good thing in many ways, it's also often very overwhelming. I think, given that we've been very, very frightened by this second wave that's hit, as much as there's been a huge amount of fear that's come with that, I think it's tragic and terrifying and terrible because, of course, we all know of people who are really suffering. So first thing is prayers that we're all fine, everyone's fine and safe forever, touch wood, and anyone who's suffering gets the help they need. But I think what this second wave has also done is perhaps honestly woken us all up to the fact that we need to know as much as we can about this. The authorities, the powers that be need to have all contingencies, disaster management in place to tackle, God forbid, situations like this. And now, of course, with people talking of a third wave, I think one has to also make sure that we're fully prepared. So on that note, Doctor, I would love to start with you just telling us a little bit about, honestly, your view on COVID on a generic level first, and then we'll go into more specifics of, actually things that could help people here. So what's your view on the situation right now?
I think you captured the sentiment very appropriately. India is suffering. Lives and livelihoods are being decimated by this virus. We have gotten here through complacency, through hubris, and what we need to now do as citizens is come up and ensure that we afterwards.
I'm so sorry.
Ourselves, but also to ensure that we're helping everyone else around.
For a second, I couldn't hear you, but now I can hear you again. So can you just repeat that last line? For some reason, I couldn't hear that.
I said that we need to all be acting responsibly, not only to protect ourselves, but also to be looking after everyone else around us. That's the core objective here. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, as Doctor says, right now we need to be looking after ourselves and everyone around us. Let's just go to simple things that could help people here. And I want to just reiterate that if anyone is in any way feeling unwell, please consult your own doctor. I'm not a expert. And of course, doctor is an expert. But I think, as we all know, you cannot be consulted through watching a live. So the reality is, if you have an issue, you need to speak directly to your doctor. But Dr. Marcus, what would you say are the first sort of signs or symptoms that someone should watch out for? And at what point does someone have to move from managing themselves at home to seeking, intervention from experts and hospital care? What would you say is the basic trajectory of how it works?
One of the biggest challenges we have with COVID is the spectrum of signs and symptoms. On one end, we see asymptomatic cases, and some projections are showcasing that to be as high as 80%. And then, of course, on the other end, you're seeing people in complete respiratory distress, multiglobal pneumonia, thromboembolic disease, clots all over the body, and in a very sick state. This is the big challenge, is this entire spectrum of the conditions. By and large, people who are presenting with mild disease, their signs typically fall into 2 or 3 categories. You've got those who are complaining about respiratory complaints, that's shortness of breath, that's a dry cough, fever, which is unrelenting, it goes on for a number of days, the body ache, the chills, the shaking that happens as well. And then, of course, there is that common symptom with a lot of people, a sign which a lot of people are now having, loss of smell, loss of taste as well. there is a second category of individual who has principally gastrointestinal symptoms, diarrhea, nausea, maybe a little bit of mild vomiting, tummy pain, indigestion. And then after that, it sometimes progresses into the respiratory disease as well. So those are the two big types of sort of collections of symptoms that we're seeing. Children mainly having a fever and a cough, which is sort of limiting itself to 48 to 72 hours. And I'm sure Dr. Mahesh, who's our pediatrician as well, coming in tomorrow, will talk more about that tomorrow. So I'm happy to see him here as well. So I won't talk about that aspect at all. So in adults, we're really focusing on respiratory complaints, gastrointestinal complaints. But as I said, for everyone watching as well, a high percentage of people, almost 80%, are asymptomatic. And this is causing a big cause of concern for us, because these people are in a position to spread the virus unknowing to them and unknowing to other people around them.
No, absolutely. So that was really, really informative, and it actually encapsulates to a lay person how complex this is, because the spectrum of symptoms is so wide that it's very hard, I guess, to pinpoint. And I guess that's why so many cases perhaps come in too late. And so thank you for throwing light on that. So now, going back to, we are now in the second year of this awful pandemic. And while, I keep reminding myself that we did have a brief period of a few months where things did look better. And I keep reminding myself, and our children, in fact, I always find kids are so inspirational because they seem to really be resilient and adaptable. And they remind us that they did play dates, they did other things. So do you think, as much as we're hearing such awful news and the mutation is worse now and all the rest of it, do you think the fact that we've been through this whole year, there's also a lot more knowledge to be able to actually honestly combat this spike better? I'm not talking about the resource shortage, because that's another point which we'll come to. But in terms of actually being able to, the fact that now you could list out all the symptoms and what they are, whereas last year this was all something we were, grappling with. Do you think we're in a better position now to honestly combat this, and the fact that there might be more new mutations coming up?
Yeah, I think the knowledge has enhanced and increased exponentially from where we were last year, that's for sure, both in terms of recognition, in terms of testing, in terms of management. The fact that we now have 10 candidate vaccines which are being rolled out, more now, 12 or 14 of them in different parts of the world. It's been an incredible testament to the work the scientific community has done in the last 12 months, and that knowledge will continue to increase. The problem is, and I keep reminding people, is we are chasing a moving target. This virus, its pure raison d'etre is to survive, and it survives by mutating and constantly adapting itself to withstand the pressures, the evolutionary pressures which are being put on that virus. And by that, I mean the host, which is ourselves, the treatment that we're creating, and of course the vaccination. So the more we try and do, the more it's going to try and adapt itself, which is why we need to be aggressive. We can't let our guard down. We've seen the consequences of doing so, what it's done to a country like India, Brazil, the US in the early days, etc. And this needs to be a globally concerted effort to get over this and ensure that all 8 billion people are vaccinated as quickly as we can over the next 3 years.
Absolutely. So that's Dr. Marcus saying that we need to ensure that everybody is vaccinated. I think that's such a good point, that while we have a huge amount of information and knowledge now, vaccination and continuing to stay safe and not letting our guard down is hugely important. I think, unfortunately, I don't want to get into a blame game, but we all know that there was a period of letting go. I think a sort of false narrative that we had triumphed over COVID. I think many of us were victims of falling for that. And I remember, my sister lives in England, I'm half English, and I remember saying, when we were out on play dates, and of course staying careful, but I remember saying, oh gosh, maybe the Indian immunity, we were believing that maybe India wasn't going to have a second wave. So I think there's been a huge learning. Now, of course, one's heart breaks for so many people who do not have resources, and it's not even about means, it's about the lack of oxygen, the lack of hospital beds, a huge shortage in resources. I really don't want to get into a blame game, but what would you think now if one had to use this as a learning? What do you think has to be done immediately now, not just to combat the situation now, but to mitigate something like this happening going forward? What would you think at a macro scale should be done?
Dr. Fauci, the advisor to the US administration, and he's been there for 7 presidents, he was recently asked this question, I think on CNN, and he provided quite an articulate framework. He said we need to divide the problem in India into 3. What we need to do immediately, what we need to do in the short to medium term, and what we need to do in the long term. What we need to do immediately right now is mobilize as much resources as we possibly can to help treat the people who are suffering right now. That means lives and livelihoods. It's an economic and a health debacle which we're going through.
Absolutely.
So we're already seeing over 50% of oxygen being manufactured by the private sector, by industries that are not even oxygen industries. This is cement industries and heavy manufacturing and oil and gas and all kinds of steel plants, etc. So that's very good happening at a macro level. We can each play our part, by the way. My wife and I, we've recently started this campaign called Meds for More.
Yes, I've been following that.
Meds for More.
Meds for More.
Yeah, and all we're doing is, we're collecting unused, unexpired COVID medication from everyone that's been treated at home. And instead of it going to waste, we are then funneling it into our NGO partners to make sure it gets reached people who can't access or can't afford. So that's a small example of what each of us individually can do to ensure that resources are reaching. So that's the immediacy.
Absolutely.
In the short to medium term, we have to get everyone vaccinated.
Yes.
The new WTO proposal to move the IP intellectual property waiver so that there is vaccine equity to ensure the vaccine resources, raw materials are made available to see more vaccination manufacturing plants crop up in different parts of India and the world, and to make sure that each and every one of us listening and hopefully watching this on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, any other platform, you need to make sure you get vaccinated.
Absolutely.
You need to make sure your home health, your staff, your support workers also get vaccinated, because there's so much misinformation and confusion and honestly just wrong content in the zeitgeist about this. So please make sure everyone gets vaccinated.
That's a very good point. No, go on.
I was just going to say, I want to end this by saying the long term is an investment, a double down on investment in our healthcare infrastructure. Nirmala, our finance minister, opened her budget this year by saying that this is a budget for health and wellness. She almost tripled the investment that India has seen previously, which is a paltry 2% of GDP compared to 10, 15, 20% in other OECD countries. We need to very quickly ramp up. It's been shortchanged for far too long. We've seen the consequences of that. I myself am going out to a primary healthcare center in Gujarat next weekend because of all the challenges that they're seeing, and they just don't have doctors, they don't have beds, they don't have oxygen, they don't have thermometers, they don't have PPE kits. It's ridiculous that our country has reached this stage.
It really is. And Dr. Marcus, I'm just repeating some things because we have an audience on YouTube and Facebook who will see an edited version of this. They can't physically see you, so they're hearing your voice, and we're getting questions there as well. So we have Paki Raju saying, how can we convince people to trust vaccines? I know a few people who are completely against it. Fortunately, his whole family has got the vaccine. I think this is something that one's seeing across the board. But I think in India, this is my own layperson view. I feel like this last month has really shaken the fabric of pretty much everyone. And I think even the people who might have been skeptical about vaccines a few months ago, I think they're damn well going to take them now, or they should. I think from whatever we're all reading across the world, they do say that the double dose, while it may not prevent you from getting COVID, it will definitely make it milder if you do get it. And I think that's something that, as Dr. Marcus is saying, ensure everyone around you takes the vaccine. Tomorrow when we talk to Dr. Balsekar, We're going to talk a lot about children and the vaccine because, as young parents, and I know you're also, young parent, I think that for all of us, one of the slight saving graces of this awful pandemic has been so far children seem to have been relatively all right. Now, of course, we're seeing a trend where there are more cases with children. So I really hope that they ramp up vaccines for kids as well. And all our kids are fine and safe, touch wood, and all of us, of course. Do you have some views on that, Marcus, on kids and vaccines and when you think that might happen?
Canada 3 days ago announced, Justin Trudeau and his health ministry announced that they're going to be rolling it out to above 12-year-olds. The Biden administration has said that they're looking into it over the next week or so. In the United Kingdom, home for both of us, there was an AstraZeneca study which had to be halted because of the thromboembolic clots were being seen. It was being done on 300 12 to 15-year-olds. They've now restarted that study as well. So I'm very hopeful that in the next 3 to 4 months, we have got enough efficacy data on Moderna, on Pfizer, but also AstraZeneca and some of the older technology vaccines, such as the Bharat Biotech, the Sputnik vaccine, etc., which we have available in India. I'm sure Dr. Balsekar will talk more about this tomorrow. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to ensure that that is happening. And in fact, one of the many disgruntles that I have with our current policy is why we have decided to prioritize the hospitality industry or other types of sectors as opposed to the education sector.
Completely agree.
The effect is happening. Yeah.
I mean, I'm absolutely in the same boat as you when it comes to this. This, as we discussed earlier, I find it unbelievable that our administration has chosen to prioritize, as you said, hospitality, and I guess it's economics, right? But they've prioritized all that over education. And I really hope, and again, I must admit that the last couple of days, various interviews I've watched, for the first time, I've seen a lot of discussion on how are they going to open schools, the reason for vaccinating kids and ensuring kids are safe so that kids can get back to school. It's the first time in the whole year that I'm hearing more conversations about the kids needing to be back at school. As a young parent, to me, while of course I pray that we're all fine and safe, touch wood, and that people's, economically the country is all right, I actually think that our children are so privileged to have online school, and even that we're so fed up with. But there is a huge majority, I would say 90 to 95% of children in India who do not have online education. It's going to be a generation with a year or two of no schooling. I mean, the long-term effects on the country are going to be huge if they don't figure this out. So I completely agree, Doc. And, thank you, Pakiraju, Sarim, all of you, Abhishek on YouTube who are asking lots of questions. We've got people here on Instagram also saying many things. We've got Francisca saying if both Covishield and Covaxin are the same, then why two different? Francisca, I'm sure doctor will tell you that, all the vaccines, there are different manufacturers and different. Do you want to say something about that, doctor, about the different vaccines and anything about that?
Yeah. Largely globally, they're divided into two types of vaccines. We've got those which are using an mRNA platform, which is a very new gene-based technology. And then you've got the older types, which typically, as we have had vaccines growing up, take a particular virus, they either make it less harmful or they kill it and they put it into another vector and then they inject it into the body. So Moderna and Pfizer, these are the ones that are using the mRNA platform, whereas all the other ones, particularly the ones we have in India, which is the Bharat Biotech, AstraZeneca, and now the Sputnik one, that's using the older types of technology. So that's one distinction. The rest are just different brands, different companies doing their own thing, as you have with any types of paracetamol, come 2 dozen different flavors and brands.
So that was that question. Then we've got Dhari was saying, why is the vaccine short in Mumbai? Any views on that? Again, this is very tragic about the vaccine rollout program. Having said that, not to just to be devil's advocate, the reality is many countries are actually going slow, and as much as, yes, I do wish it was better here, I don't think it's only India where there's this lag. I mean, it's a huge population, but do you have some views on that, the vaccine rollout program?
No, it's a combination of supply chain challenges, the political things which I won't get into, but also our complacency. Honestly, right from when the vaccine started, I was telling everyone around me, go and get vaccinated, even if you weren't in the age bracket. They were giving it to people because we couldn't afford for those vials to get wasted. People did not go, and now suddenly everyone wants it, and there are huge queues.
Absolutely,
it's our fault as citizens as well that we reached here.
Absolutely. So I don't know if you guys heard that on YouTube, on Facebook, but doctor was saying that, unfortunately, when the vaccine rollout program began, centers were going empty. People were reluctant to take it. And now, of course, everyone's rushing to take it. And it's a demand and supply issue. But let's hope that that gets resolved soon as well. And then we've got Dhariwal saying, when will the pandemic end? Please tell us if you can answer that. I will give you whatever you want.
Dr. Zarir Udwadia was interviewed on the BBC last week, and he said we are 600 days away from reaching herd immunity in India.
Yeah, I know. That is quite terrifying. I did hear that interview as well. But, I think in all this, all of us, I guess, have to stay optimistic that things are going to get better. And that hopefully, if all these things that we do, taking the vaccine, continuing to stay safe, the world, as you said, this is not just India's problem. It's the world, right? This virus is not actually specific to one place. My sister and me are in obviously daily contact, and just yesterday she told me there are now 500 or 600 cases of the Indian mutation in the UK. So, I mean, it's not that one can go somewhere and be safe, because the world is one. I think this is, if one has to learn lessons from it, it really is that nobody is really isolated. No country is really isolated. We all have to help each other and work together. When we were in a relatively good position, the UK was spiking and they were all in lockdown. So I think it is, something that connects everyone in a way as well. We have Paki Raju asking that he'd love to know what the book is about. So I'd like to say that I, of course, will leave that to Dr. Marcus, but I've been very impressed. Firstly, I have no idea in how in how such a young man has done so many things. How on earth, from summiting Mount Everest with one of the biggest medical groups to get there, to being in the Arctic, to being at NASA, to doing all these things. And from what I've understood as a layperson, how the human body is just so incredible, of how it adapts to extreme situations that you may put it in. And I think you wrote this book way before perhaps COVID, and yet oxygen was very much on your mind. And I find that a very interesting thing, because my father had emphysema and he was on oxygen for 10 years. In fact, under Dr. Farooq Udwadia, and they worked together to keep him alive for 9 years longer than initially imagined. And doctors, oxygen, and his own willpower played a huge part in doing that. But frankly, because I was so aware of his dependency on oxygen, BiPAP machines, concentrators, cylinders, it's so weird suddenly seeing all this in the public domain. I feel like, oh my gosh, Daddy, how would he have managed if suddenly he didn't have oxygen? It would have been fatal. So when I hear these stories, I'm like, oh my gosh, even half an hour without the oxygen you need kills you. So please tell us about how oxygen and the human edge actually came about, and how did you do this way before COVID became a thing?
I've always been fascinated by the human body. My career began, I was in the Royal Air Force when I was doing my first degree in London at UCL in physiology. And that's when I started to observe these incredible fighter pilots make these difficult decisions with ultra focus and precision under some of the most
So the it seems to have paused a bit on Instagram, but I'm just going to repeat what what doctor said for those of you on YouTube and Facebook. He was saying that he was a fighter pilot when he first began his medical studies, and it was incredible the kind of decisions that people made under these extreme conditions of being fighter pilots. So carry on. Sorry, I lost you for a minute, but you're back.
I'm just going to correct you. I wasn't a fighter pilot.
No, you weren't a fighter pilot. Sorry, you weren't a fighter pilot, but you were a pilot. I can't hear you. Yeah, but it's very soft.
Is that any better?
Yeah. It's very soft. Sorry. Suddenly gone very soft.
Is that any better now?
Yeah, that's a bit better.
I think it's a combination of Wi-Fi and mic. Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you, but it's not very loud. But I can hear you.
So it was just the book is all about fighter pilots to the Antarctic Circle, and each chapter looks at a different extreme environment and how our human body ultimately excels and looks at the limits of human physiology and performance.
Wow, that's amazing. So I couldn't hear very clearly, but the book actually looks at the incredible physiology of the human body and how it adapts to extreme circumstances, right from being in the South Pole to being underwater, being a fighter pilot. So it's really fascinating, guys. Go check it out. It also gives you a lot of hope of what the human body is able to do, and I think that's something that right now we all need to hear, because every day I find myself, and thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shruti said that she loved my last post because I wrote a post with thank you for saying that, Shruti Gopinath, because I wrote about the fluctuating emotions that many of us feel. 1 minute you're feeling really quite low, and then you're feeling really sad by all the stuff that's so tragic going around, and the next minute you're full of optimism and hope, and the next minute you feel like things are going to be fine, and then again you go back to feeling what's going on. So I think these fluctuating emotions really sometimes are quite distressing, but I think when you realize how resilient the human body is, and this is at some level this is, I guess, an example of the human edge. If you had a chapter on COVID, you would probably be able to explain how physiologically the body gets through it. So let's hope that we all get through this time fine and safe, touch wood. And lots more questions, doctor. But one last one. Kindle says, how long do you think it will take before travel can resume? Indians traveling abroad.
I won't guess that, but I'm pretty sure 2021 will be very close.
Yeah. So doctor said he can't answer that completely, but he pretty much thinks 2021 will be at home. At home. Yeah, there's so much for us to see and do here. Absolutely. Somebody else is saying, can people with heart diseases get the vaccine? That's Faiz is saying.
Oh, yes. So anyone with any chronic condition can have it. Currently in India, there are only 2 types of people which we are suggesting don't have it for breastfeeding and people who are pregnant. I'm sure Dr. Mahesh will talk more about that as well. Otherwise, there are no indications. In fact, if you have a chronic disease, you should get the vaccine because you are more at risk.
Thank you. So doctor said that there was a question about if you can take the vaccine if you've had heart disease, and doctor saying, in fact, you should take it if you have a chronic condition. Everyone can take the vaccine. The only 2 groups of people that they're not yet suggesting take the vaccine are pregnant women and women who are breastfeeding. So Sama, what is the reason that people get infected even after the vaccination?
Look, the vaccine is only really protective.
It's very soft, doctor. Maybe if you come a little ahead, would that help?
Is this any better now?
Yeah.
Okay. The only time that we're seeing a good level of protection is 2 weeks after the second dose. So anytime up until then, people are still at risk, and people are falling prey to that because they think that they're more protected and therefore doing things in a much more bravado manner. So people need to be careful of that.
So that's a good point. Doctor was saying you're only really protected 2 weeks after the second dose. So make sure you maintain all safety protocols before and even after that. Pakiraju is saying, what inspired you to write the book?
My children, I wanted to inspire them to love science in the same way that I do, but through the words of their father.
How
I gave
lovely.
it to them.
So Pakiraju, doctor says it's his children who inspired him to write the book. He wanted them to be as inspired by science as he is. I think, given that tomorrow we'll be talking about children, I think the children really are a huge inspiration for all of us. As much as I must admit, we're fighting constantly as well. I feel it's also even that is an element of allowing some form of normalcy in these strange times. So every time we have a fight, I think, okay, this is teaching them negotiation skills. This is teaching them, because we have to do it all in house now. So that was really, really helpful, doctor. We have someone saying, when do you have to go for a COVID test? I'm guessing you should go if you have symptoms, but do you want to answer that, or if you've come in contact
No,
with anyone?
yeah, you're right. If there's any suspicion that you may have been in contact with someone or you suffer from COVID-19, please have a test.
Absolutely. If you've been around anyone who's got COVID, please have a test. We have someone saying the news here is bashing India. Mr. Sin M. I think as doctors been saying all along, we won't get political, but the truth is, I think it's good to have an objective view and watch and listen to all news. I think as much as one doesn't want to only look at the press here or only look at the press there, now in this digital age, you and I think that's quite a good thing to do. I find myself sending articles to my relatives in England about local news, things getting a bit better because understandably they don't always see that. So I do think that they obviously get very worried looking at what they look at. So somebody else says are hitting the bullseye. Children are suffering by not going to school. We need to get them back in school. Absolutely. I've taken the second dose of Covishield today and I'm having a mild cold. Do you want to say anything about that? Your reaction to
To have a local reaction, which is the arm will be heavy. Well, what I've anecdotally seen is people under the age of 50 getting a much stronger response, immune response. They're having more of these symptoms than people over the age of 50. Also, the symptoms on the first shot seem to be worse than the symptoms on the second shot. This is a problem because I've got a lot of people who had the first shot and they've told me, and I feel really unwell, there's something wrong with this vaccine, I don't want to have the second one. And that will cause a problem because A, it doesn't give you any protection, and B, remember we spoke about the evolutionary threat of the virus. You're giving it a little teaser as to what we're creating, but you're not giving it the full shot. It is then more likely to then mutate over a longer period of time. So please make sure you had one vaccine, make sure you have two.
That's a great point. Dr. Marcus said if you've had one dose of the vaccine, even if you've had a severe reaction, definitely take the next dose. You have to complete the whole course. Doctor also said often younger people have more of a reaction. I have to tell you a bit of a joke. Both Rupak and me are only 18, so we only just qualified. But that aside, we didn't have any reaction. So we were like wondering if we actually got the right vaccine. So I think this is actually quite an individual thing. Everyone reacts differently. And we literally were like, oh my gosh, did we take it? Apart from the sore arm. So I think, like you said so rightly, that everyone's reactions are different, but whatever it is, make sure you take the next dose. So thank you for that. We have Michael Rock saying if he tested positive for COVID, after how long is he allowed to take the vaccine?
Can you repeat that question again?
A gentleman said that he had COVID, and how long after recovering may he take the vaccine?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay, so Michael, that's 4 weeks. Kindall says, are there some lifestyle related tips you could recommend for your own routine to stay mentally and physically fit?
I mean, there are many things. And last time we spoke a lot about self-care and self-love is not selfish. And how important that mantra is to look after our body and mind right now. I individually am making sure I'm getting my 10,000 steps every day. I intermittent fast 3 days a week. I off sugar almost completely. I sleep 7 to 8 hours every day. So I'm doing all the simple things to make sure I'm taking all my vitamins and minerals and supplements. So any little thing helps right now, but I will tell people that none of this is a substitute for proper medical therapy if you fall unwell. So you can use it to augment your journey of health. But please do not need to consult a doctor and make sure you're taking care of yourself and your health.
That's a very good point. So, Dr. Marcus was saying while there are lots of things we can all do to keep ourselves physically and mentally fit, touch wood, as we've been saying, whether it's consistent exercise, eating well, sleeping well, surrounding yourself with love, your family, your kids, all these things definitely help us. Laugh. I tell people, there's an element of guilt, especially in a third world country. Much as I adore India and I've chosen to live here, given that I'm half English, I do feel when you bring kids up here, we're so aware of so much suffering just as a just because of the way we all live, right, in such close proximity to everything about not just your neighbors but the people who live around you. You can't help but be so concerned for everyone. And sometimes I feel in first world countries, not that they're not empathetic, but you can really just live looking after your own because you don't have to have that. You know that the authorities are managing the rest. So I feel here we have an element of guilt constantly. We need to help. We need to help with cylinders. We need to provide oxygen to people. We have to help with beds, and we want to do it. But I think it's equally important to understand that you could be helping just by making someone smile. You could be helping by telling a joke and letting someone know that things are going to be fine. Just today on a wonderful group I'm part of where a lot of people are helping, someone said that she feels a bit useless in comparison. And everyone was so sweet to reassure her that help comes in all forms. A grandmother just ensuring you eat well or making sure that she's there to tell you a story or whatever is just as helpful. So don't ever feel that you're not helping. We're all helping in our own way. And on that note, yes, and doctor also said, do not as a substitute for actual medical consultation. If you have a problem, please consult your doctor. Please do not rely just on Google videos and WhatsApp messages. Dr. Udodia once told me when my father was very critical, he once told me when I said, I looked up something and I got scared, in his very, very wonderful way, he said to me, I didn't become a doctor by checking Google. And I thought that was so wonderful because after that I never looked up Google to check for symptoms and things like that, because I realized it's such a vast ocean of information. You need to know every case is different. And in fact, I think when doctor we spoke briefly about oxygen at home and people wanting to get cylinders and keep them, it's important to also have medical guidance with how to use these things, because every case is so different. Everybody's body, it's a bunch of parameters, right? It's not just one thing. So what is your view on oxygen and CTs? And then I think I'm going to let doctor go because I've really taken up a lot of his time.
CT is a diagnostic test. It's not required for everyone. If you have an RT-PCR positive, you don't need to rush and have a CT scan. Please don't do that. Number one, a CT scan is the equivalent of 400 X-rays. It's a very high dose. Number two is it's the scanner. So the CT device is to be prescribed by a doctor when your clinical symptoms have reached the stage that warrants a clinician to try and assess the degree of severity of the lung involvement. So as I said, not everyone gets lung involvement with COVID. A lot of people, it's just restricted to the gastrointestinal tract. In some people, it goes to the lungs, and the CT allows us to give an objective score out of 25, which we can then delineate between mild, moderate, and severe, and that will guide us to say whether this person needs to start steroids, whether we need to consider home oxygen, or whether we need to consider hospitalization for a more aggressive chemotherapy like tocilizumab, remdesivir, or maybe a CPAP pipeline.
That's really good advice. Again, I'm just saying it for the people on YouTube and Facebook as well. Doctor was saying that do not take a CT scan if you are don't. Not everyone should rush for it. The doctor will be able to advise you if you need to take it. Similarly, it's actually the equivalent of about 400 X-rays. So there are many reasons to wait and to see if there is lung involvement. Not every COVID case has lung involvement. These are all very important things. And I think once again, to reassure all of us, I think the whole fact 90% of cases are very mild and get well at home. So I think we need to remind ourselves of that, because for every awfully tragic case you hear of, there are also so many that are absolutely fine. I keep telling myself that because otherwise it can get into a sea of gloom. So on that note, doctor, thank you so much. It was really lovely chatting. And is there anything else you'd like to say before we say au revoir?
No, I know there are many other questions, and I want to say thank you for having me and creating this platform to get some accurate medical information. If you do want to reach out to me, of course, go to my Instagram. Every day I'm trying to put up some relevant COVID information to help you. So I'm more than happy to do that. But I wish you well. My last message is get the vaccine. Please ensure you get the vaccine.
That's lovely. So anybody who'd like to hear more from Dr. Ranney, please follow him on Instagram too. And it was really a pleasure having him here. This video will be edited and put also on YouTube. So thank you so much, Doc. And take care, stay safe, and good luck on your Gujarat expedition. That's really amazing. Bye. So that was Dr. Marcus Ranney, and that was so lovely hearing from him. I'm actually going to say I'm so sorry on YouTube and Facebook. You couldn't see everything because it was on Insta, but we're going to put it up live too. I seem to have got stuck on YouTube, so I'm going to stop it before this disappears. Just give me a sec. I'm just going to get the charger. Sorry. Home setup. Home setup. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Sorry. Okay, guys, on that, say au revoir, but please join you. Wonderful people on Instagram. Hi, Sharam. Hi, Khalil. Hi, everyone. Hi, Suraj on Facebook. Hi, everyone again on YouTube. Not sure what happened on YouTube. It suddenly disappeared. And bye, everyone. Happy Mother's Day in advance. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Oh, usually I go live with a few more people, so I am going to. Raj Singh. I'm not sure what happened here. Uh-oh. YouTube, is it still running? I'm not sure. Hi, who's that? What's happening on YouTube? Is it working? Sorry, guys. Hi, how are you? Okay, let's see who we can go live with. Dhruv Raj. Hi, how are you? How are you? आप कैसे हैं? Thank you, Ashish. Hi, Indian athlete. Hi, Ridwan. Sorry, I don't know what's happening with Dhruv not coming through, and not sure what's happening on YouTube either. Sorry, guys. Uh-oh. Hi, आप कैसी हैं? ठीक है, सब ठीक है? Very good. Thank you for joining. Bye. बिल्कुल ठीक, thank you. Hi, how are you? Bye. Sorry, I don't know what's happening. It's not getting very clear. Hi, आप कैसे हैं? कहाँ पे हैं? Thank you for joining. Bye. Thank you everyone for joining Saturday Noon Live with Tara. That was a great chat. Bye. Stay safe. Stay happy. Bye. Oh gosh. Guys, is it still going on YouTube, on Instagram, on YouTube? If I'm still on, I'm not able to see you. That was a really great chat. I can't see you guys, so I don't know if it's on. I'm just going to call Pooja from my team to try and sort this out. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry guys, I don't know if it's still on YouTube. I'm really weird. It's really weird. It's kind of gone to a black screen. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out. Sorry guys, I don't know what's happened on YouTube. Let me just, sorry. So embarrassing when this happened. Sorry guys, are you still there on YouTube? Don't know what to do. Shh, Kai, please don't. I'm in the call. Sorry guys, sorry, Kai, you can come. I don't understand. Is this YouTube still on? Kai, can you help me? I can't figure it out. Please come. Sorry guys, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's working or not. This is so embarrassing. It's still going on, it seems.
Yeah, it is on.
The YouTube is still on. How do I stop it? Kai, how do I stop it? Do you know? I don't know how to stop it, like to make sure, because see, it's just gone to some kind of black screen. Is it still on?
Refresh it.
Are you sure? Just
Yeah,
put the volume on.
It's on.
How do I? Put the volume on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. God, I'm so sorry, guys. Kai, please help. Come
Oh,
here and
let's
help.
try
But
refresh
can they see us? But then what will happen? How do we get it out? Sorry, guys. This is really bad of me. Oh gosh, guys, see, it's still going on.
I'll refresh
See
it.
there, it's a black screen. Happy Mother's Day in advance. All nothing better than all our kids, right? I don't go to the wrong thing. The
It
whole thing will
doesn't
go.
matter. There's nothing. No, it won't.
How it might go?
No, it won't. Obviously not. I'm refreshing this.
No, then don't reload.
I don't. But then how?
Okay, then leave it. Let it just go on. What do you do?
Then shut the tab when you want to shut it.
But then I wanted to upload.
It'll upload.
How? How will it upload if I don't stop it?
I don't know.
Okay, never mind. Now let me just do the intro to the Insta one. Sorry guys, this is crazy. So YouTube is just going on indefinitely. That's like kind of crazy. I'm not able to turn the YouTube off. I made some mistake. Paki Raju, all of you, are you still there on YouTube? I'm so embarrassed about this. Hi everyone, thanks for joining Saturday Noon Live with Tara. We had a really interesting conversation with Doctor Marcus Ranney on his book, The Human Edge, on COVID, on things we should all do, and all of us staying safe and fine. Touch wood. Guys, I'm so sorry about this. I don't know what to do. I think I'll just have to turn it off because it's not able to. I'm not able to see how to turn it off. Sorry. And I can't just have it going on and on. So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining Saturday Noon Live with Tara. We had a really interesting conversation with Dr. Marcus Ranney on his book, The Human Edge, on COVID, on things we should all do, and all of us staying safe and fine. That's okay, guys, I don't know what to do. We're still on Insta, it seems. We're still on YouTube. Should I just close the computer? Can't just have you guys sitting there like I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna go give the kids lunch now. I'm so embarrassed that this is not stopping. Should I just turn it off? I don't have a choice. Okay. Live streaming.